What's good, world? How y'all doing, man? I hope everything's okay. Welcome back to Real Day Nation. At Real Day, we love to have field days, and on Real Week, we love to let the real speak. And today's conversation is about online gender wars.
All right, so what I like to get into when we get into this online gender war is the origin of it. And with that origin, it started out positive, and then all of these subcultures got included. So let's start with the Manosphere. That's what they call it, right? The Manosphere, which started out as positive male motivation. I'm talking fitness, confidence, getting money, things like that. That's how it all started out. And then you had these subcultures that came into it. And I'm not saying the subcultures are new. The newest one, to my knowledge, is the Red Pill. And I'm going to get into that. But it started out as male rights activists. We had the pickup line artists. And then that gradually moved into the Red Pill content. If you're not sure what Red Pill means, it's something off the Matrix. The Red Pill, Blue Pill thing. That even started out as positive. But now we have moved into those, like the male rights activists. It was about motivating dudes to, of course, family court lawyers, tell them how to get that into being their child's life. And we had the pickup artists ones. I never got into the pickup artist content, but I did read a book or two. And it was, like I said, the Red Pill content. That content went extreme at this point. If you're on the internet right now, you're watching these videos, you'll see how Red Pill content went extreme. Now, the other side of that is the feminism slash the sisterhood. Even with the feminism, that started out positive. It was talking about women's rights, of course, with voting and going against the patriarchy, and things like that. And now it's just belittling men. It's bashing. It's like an extreme form that has started on the internet where one side is against the other side and no side is letting up. And you got myself, who's in the middle of it all. And I'm here to tell you my perspective of it along with your boy Joe. All right, let's get to it.
So, I think, as it pertains to gender war, I think that it happened because we stopped listening to each other. Male side, the female side, whatever started getting a source of information that wasn't from the other side. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. So, like, you know how sometimes in the family you can have aunts and grandma and mom and a female influence to tell you a whole lot of stuff about men. As a matter of fact, there's a whole lot of references out there, magazines and articles and all types of stuff that talk about men but were written by women. So there's also a lot of influence from the guy side, you know what I'm saying, in trying to fill our library up with what we think about women and our perspectives that are male motivated. I believe statistically that it's more female than male, but guess what? That could actually be why we're having this conversation about the gender war, because we all have our own sides and how we see things. And those things were derived mostly from sources that have nothing to do with the other side. A lot of guys listen to guys when we talk about women and what women want and all of this stuff. And the same goes for females. A lot of y'all listen to each other instead of coming to ask us. It could be for different reasons. It could be because you just don't believe us, or it could be because you want to see what you can get out of the deal. But isn't that the case with all of us? Trying to see what we can get out of the deal. And I think that is a very vital battleground as it pertains to the gender war. Like, what is the goal? What are we looking for? Because a lot of stuff has changed. You know what I'm saying? How we talk to the opposite sex has changed. How we identify the opposite sex has changed. The gender as a definition is under attack and changing. And we're coming up in this new environment, if you will. And in this new environment, we're trying to figure out what the other side wants, but we're also trying not to lose what it is we desire and what it is we want also. I think that's a fair argument to be made regardless of gender.
There was a 2024 study that said exposure to red pill content has increased by 25% by hostility towards women. So the young men who are taking in this red pill content, their hostility has increased by 25% toward women. This is the internet, right? Everybody's on the internet when we got people in reality. So I believe that fathers, uncles, male mentors, whoever, holler or talk to your people. Talk to your sons, talk to your nephews, talk to the young men in your neighborhood, and get them to understand that what they're seeing is an extreme form of content being fed to them on the internet, and that's not reality. So what you see on these contents, I'm not saying red pill content is horrible. Well, a subculture in it is. Because like I stated before, it started out as positive. Now what you're seeing with this content is a bunch of generalization. So it's women are hypergamous, they're manipulative, they're low value, things like that. So that's what you hear, a bunch of generalizations off of what they are taken into on the internet, because it eventually becomes their echo chamber. There was another study, and I think this is from the Pew, where it says 67% of women feel unsafe in online spaces. They feel unsafe and sexualized in online spaces. Another one says 42% of men feel unwelcomed in gender discussions online. So we got this whole dynamic to where we are at each other's neck. We are fighting to destroy each other instead of fighting to understand each other. Yeah. And that's the issue that we're facing today.
As you were talking, I was just sitting here thinking about a lot of people that I've talked to and a lot of women that I've talked to just at work or different places and different things that I've done in my life. I've noticed that, just surmising from my personal experience, a lot of them are just searching what it is they imagine that situation to be. But I find that to be true on either side. I just hear it more from women than men. Maybe we don't articulate that well, but we all are looking for something. Here is what I think the biggest issue with that is, though. While we're looking for things, especially in a time like now where everything's changing, we are doing ourselves a disservice by not challenging our current library of experiences and current things that we know, are stored in our library from our past. We don't challenge our past enough. I think if we challenged our past enough, we would see the ripple effect of women being raped and boys being raped and having to keep certain things in, and what happens at home stays at home. You know what I'm saying? And Unc was looking at her weird, or Unc tried to rub up against her. You know what I'm saying? Or Auntie was being kind of strange with the cousins, kind of thing. Like as horrible as those situations are, we somehow, in the power of who we are, endure that. And I just mean the human race, not just black. I know that story is raceless and that story is genderless, but I'm saying that to say that we have a lot of different things in our experiences in life that shape how we see the other side. And we don't challenge those things enough. Like, is it that all the women think like that? Or is it that all the women I've experienced or for sure. Females, is it that all guys are this way, or all guys that I've experienced? It changes the way you see people and the way we interact, I believe, if we just challenge our past with what we know now. You know what I'm saying? I kind of call it just like a working copy of life. We should always keep a working copy of life. Nothing is really permanent. You know what I'm saying? Everything is constantly in motion, constantly moving. So he's going to want something different at another point in his life. What worked in his 20s don't work in his 40s. She's going to want something different out of life than she wanted at 19. The flowers was cool then. Maybe she realized she has an allergy now, or maybe she just realized she doesn't like that anymore, and we have to be conscious of that. But that goes back to another point I made in the video, I think last episode, about paying attention to how we build our home culture. I'm just saying that those things would help in the online gender war. It doesn't have to always be, relationship or trying to be with somebody. It could be working with the opposite sex or having a business. We just have to be careful how we treat each other as an individual and not come subject or victim to the generalization of the opposite sex.
For sure. And one thing I would like to mention, even though I'm highlighting the negative aspects of the Manosphere, there are positive parts of it. And those positive parts are needed for those young men out there, because I'm including myself, I'm talking like I'm an old man, but including myself, meaning like there are young men out there who do not have a mentor. Their father may not be present. Their uncles may not be present in their lives, or they may not have any mentors in their neighborhood that they can talk to. So a lot of them gravitate to that online. And there are some positive things online. There also are some positive things offline, like books. I've read a couple of books. Now, I'm not endorsing these books at all, because there are better books than this. I promise you. I was a young man, I'm a young man now, but I was very young. I'm talking a teenager when I read this book. It's two books that were given to me by a friend. It's from Tariq Nasheed, The Art of Macking and The Mac Within. Those are the two books I read in my young mind. And I took it in, but at the same time, I didn't take it as the gospel. I didn't take it like that. I read it and I thought it was interesting. Well, one thing it did change my mind on, it made me look at that Babyface song differently. That Babyface song, as soon as I get home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Pay attention to the lyrics.
You talking about that song? Yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
bro. Yeah, it made me look at that song differently, because I'm paying close attention to the lyrics.
Right. Them words,
so,
man.
yeah, for sure. I think that's why in the last episode when we was talking about the nice guy syndrome, that plays a part too, especially when you lack those mentors and all you're seeing is R&B songs. And R&B songs can even be extreme. Let's be real here.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people take those R&B artists like that, spitting that gospel too. When you can see a R&B artist singing about love songs and they compulsive cheaters. You know what I'm saying? They got many women. You know what I'm saying? But they sing about being a one-woman man, stuff like that. Yeah. So it's important to really listen to someone and have that a mentor that's transparent. That's what we need in this, transparency, and that's from both sides. I'm talking from the man side and the female side. That transparency will help us get to understand each other a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
So,
no, really. Now I'm gonna say this. Y'all know this is Real Day Nation, so I'm gonna drop this and y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. But I think, as it pertains to mentors, man, I think that we have a lack of mentors because they're still in competition with people that need to be mentored. A lot of young guys feel that way, but guess what? We see it. We see everybody supposed to be mentoring in the club competing with the guys who are of this era and are, I would say, on the hunt. So they don't have as many people. There are people that are willing to guide. So let me say that too. Let me keep it balanced. There are men out here of all colors, creeds, religion, and they are available and they are ready to help young men to the next level. There are also those that are not as ready because they're not as ready to give up where they are and how they see themselves. They see themselves as, I'm still young, I could still do this, not realizing time is causing position to change. Time is causing the guard to change. It's causing the shift. And we get some guys that, like I said, they're competitors. So how can you show me the way and you're competing with me trying to get to the way. You can't have both worlds in the same person trying to lead a young man, because what happens when you have someone in that world like that trying to lead a young man, they'll use that young man for life, at least for their life. They'll try to benefit from that young man. And I know this is also a genderless point. I'm just using the man side because I'm not a woman.
For sure.
So I understand what it means to be a man all the time, you know. So those types of guys and people that are out there that want to lead, a lot of young guys are very concerned with that because they see them in competition. They see it. So it's like, you can't expect the young people to be stupid. They can see if you genuinely care or if you're pulling them to burn their energy out because you don't want to shift place. So don't insult the young people's intelligence. I know you usually don't hear it that way, Real Day Nation, but I'm just telling you, it's a real point.
There's a psychological effect that happens too. Why a lot of men, young men and boys, fall into that trap of the negative content about women, especially those who may feel like, well, if I'm watching a bunch of videos of girls and women saying this is what they like about a guy and I don't have none of that, then I'm going to feel rejected. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I can't fit none of these criterias that these girls have, and you know, I think some of them are attractive. And so you fall into that cycle of, well, I see this side of this content, the negative side of the manosphere, talking about how these women are full of hypergamy, where all they want is dudes that are better than they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, or they gotta have this amount of money, they gotta make this much money more than me, they gotta be taller than me. And you know, you may feel short. You know what I'm saying? You know, they got to think out there, short kings, brother.
No pun intended, brother.
There is male motivation that will build up your confidence out there without having to belittle a woman.
Yeah.
That's the thing too. There is motivation out there that will motivate you without putting down another. That's genuine motivation. If I gotta motivate you by putting down somebody else, then I'm not really motivating you in the best way possible. You got to look at somebody else who you feel or who you deem is less than you to feel better about yourself, when you should just feel better about yourself for being yourself. So that's what I mean about that negative part of the manosphere. But now I want to transition into the negative part of feminism and the sisterhood, because as I mentioned earlier, it started out as positive. Who don't like women empowering? I think women should be empowered. Who don't like, I don't even have daughters, but I know the men out there who have daughters want their daughters to feel empowered, right? They want their daughters to feel confident. They want their daughters to have rights and things like that, and to feel safe in this world, right? So with that, you got the negative side of it. Now they're belittling men. You know, men are trash. That was a TikTok trend for a minute. If you see a teenager who's on TikTok or a little girl who's on TikTok watching these, and it eventually becomes that echo chamber. Now, you probably have the little boy or the teenager, because little kids should not be on the internet, but let's be real, they are. But now you see them taking in this content that's saying, I'm trash, I'm meaningless, and you get a bunch of depressed children. So then you get the females that are like, yeah, men are trash. We don't need men. You know, they're only good for one thing, and it's not emotional support. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So stuff like that goes out. Eventually, these subcultures begin to eat each other. So now you got these positive male content, not positive, negative male content creators who are now attacking other men. So if I'm on the internet and I'm saying positive things about a woman, I'll be deemed a simp.
Right.
Just for saying something positive.
Yep.
They'll take a meaning and completely use it for their own agenda. Now, when a woman says something remotely positive about a man, even a married woman could say something positive about her husband, they call her a pick me. Now you're a pick me for saying something positive. Now the real meaning behind pick me was don't think for themselves. That's from my understanding. In the sisterhood, if you're in these comments, you don't necessarily got to be part of the sisterhood to agree or disagree with this. You can offer your insight, but to my knowledge, a pick me is a woman who don't think for themselves and everything is about a man, whether it be if he want me to say my ABCs backwards, I'm gonna say it backwards because that's my man or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Or something extreme to that degree. Remotely saying something positive, you know, now you are a simp or a pick me, you know, and that's what we get into this war. Now the war is not only between man and woman, it's between this version of a male, because we started it too. And I want to go back to this, the alpha male and beta male. Now we got that. And you know, the sisterhood picked this up too. Alpha male, beta male type of thing. What's the real definition of it? Right? I think people develop their own definitions, but at the same time, now we got, because I got this status, I'm an alpha male, or your woman make more than you, you're a beta male. You know what I mean? It's just weird. It's weird titles that we put on each other on this internet. On this internet, that these young people who may not have these mentors are watching and taking in, and it eventually becomes the echo chamber. That's why we got a lot of depressed kids, believe it or not. You know what I mean? Not just because of what's going on at home, it's because of what's going on the internet. I watched this TV show and I recommend everybody check it out. It's called Adolescent. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, you should have been paid.
But yeah, I enjoyed the show, you know what I mean? And I really talk about the negative effects, especially for when the parent is not present and talking to that child. You know, you ain't talking to your children about internet safeties and how the internet is not a real place. It's not. Yes, you can find some knowledge on the internet, but it's not a real place. I could get on this internet, hide my face, tell you I'm a Ninja Turtle. You know what I'm saying? You could be anybody on the internet, behind keyboards. You could be anybody, tough guy, whatever. You could be all those people on the internet. So it's not a real place. What you see out there in the real world, when you out there touching that grass, that's real. You know what I'm saying? So back to the whole sisterhood thing. Did you want to speak on that?
Yes. So I think a lot of negativity as it pertains to what is thrown towards men have a lot to do with what music is influencing what era. You know what I'm saying? I think for a lot of years I've been saying, if you know me personally, you know this is probably one of my views, is that the culture is controlled by music and female controls the culture. Guys, if we just around each other just hanging, we don't really care what we wearing and all of that stuff. But all it take for a guy to change the game is for one female to say, "Oh, those pair of jeans look good on you. Oh man, I like the way you wear that hat." And now here he go to the store asking for that hat in every color known to man, asking for 600 pair of jeans. And I know that there are different reasons, if you will, for purchasing that type of stuff. But culturally, guys have always listened to the beat of the woman to find out what's really going on, to find out what's cool, to find out what's good for us to wear and what's not good for us to wear, as much as it starts at home. As much as we have parents and parents influence things, I promise you, young ladies, old ladies, alike, whatever your age is, listen, you have more power than you know. You have more influence than you know. It doesn't mean you're trying to do anything evil. It just means it is what it is. A lot of times, women have power and they don't realize the power they have. We change our whole identities. We change our whole names. We change our whole jobs. We change where we live. How we communicate with each other all depends on if you're happy, if you're upset, if you like blue rather than red, if you like red rather than blue. Y'all have more power than you know. A lot of times, y'all might not realize the music you putting out or the words you saying are striking us like that, because we'll be sitting there while you dancing and hanging out and loving life, listening to them lyrics cut up inside. I know he not gonna tell you. He's not going to tell you because he desires you. Okay? So listen to me. I don't desire you, so listen to me. I'm telling you, your words affect that guy. What you like affects how he's going to lead. It affects every decision he makes. It's somewhere in that decision he is going to consider how you feel, what you want, what you told him you want. And it could be relationship, like I said, or a businessship or a partnership. I just use relationship because for some reason in year 2025, everybody want to talk about relationships. So I just use relationships to bring out the broader point that y'all have. So when it is negative and you wondering why, for the general broader data pool of men are sad and are depressed. Now we have our own journeys and things that we've done to aid in that, but it doesn't help when he turned on the radio and all he hear about is how you don't need him, how you don't want him, how you don't desire him, how his existence is annoying to you. You know, that's not cool for us to hear. And then you flip the script and ask us for absolutely everything in life. You know, for those that do, you know, but it's not cool to hear that.